Awesome. So today we are talking about building a therapy bag. So I use this wonderful suitcase. I take it everywhere with me and people think it's crazy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love that white ashy blonde. So today we're talking about building a therapy bag. So I thought it would be beneficial, and let me know kind of in the comments your thought if I just go through what's in mine, and then we can kind of discuss from there. Now, if you're just starting off as a practitioner, obviously I don't expect you to go out and buy like everything that I have, because obviously this is a pretty decent sized suitcase. There's a lot of stuff in there, and I have accumulated it over the last 4 years of traveling and just being a practitioner. So as you can tell, I did mention I do carry all of my stuff in a suitcase. I used to carry one backpack turned into 2 backpacks in a bag, and it just kept going on and on. So I decided one suitcase for everything would be the best option for me, and it's been working perfectly since. So I take this into my clinics and all of the schools and homes that I visit. So let's just get started. So the first thing that I always think is super important, yes, so I actually go to homes, I go to daycares, I go to schools, and then I work at about 2 different clinics. So I just travel all the time, all day, every day. I feel like I'm just moving around constantly. So first, I just wanted to touch base on basically the basics. So something that I usually always have are paper plates, construction paper, and crayons and markers. So that's the most basic things that I really feel that you can get a lot of work done. Now you could make like games out of those papers. I'll kind of go into my contract. So no, I contract myself out. So I'm traveling. I used to be a traveling therapist, but now I'm just a contractor. So I kind of cut out the middleman and I contract myself out to these different places. So it's full-time, or for a long period of time. It doesn't end. I'm their therapist for the long term. So I live here and I moved here officially and everything like that. So with those basic tools, I feel like you can really do a lot of dynamic treatment protocols and treatment options within that, and then branch out from there. So first, usually it's pretty organized. So usually first thing on the iPad is on top, because usually whenever I open it up and the client or the kiddo sees the iPad, it's usually a really highly motivator. So I strategically place it on the top one just so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle and break. But 2, whenever I open it up and they see it and they're like, I want iPad, it immediately gets them engaged and it starts our motivator of something to work for. So usually this is always on top whenever I open up that treatment bag, and we kind of go from there. I have a regular box with scissors, papers, some grasps. I don't use a ton of grasps. I usually take a different treatment route with that fine motor thing and pencil writing, but I have a few grips, and so this is my little pencil box. So that's something that can be super cheap and some of the basics that you can start with. Another thing that I had since pretty much day one is Legos. So I use Legos pretty much every single day. I feel like they're super underrated, and I just think that we talked about so many different tools in school, but Legos weren't something that we super talked about, I feel. So a lot of kids love them, and you can do a lot of different things with them. So this box of Legos probably runs like almost $30 in any like Target or something like that. But I do get the Duplos. And all kids love these, like whether they're 7 or they're 2, I feel like they're always engaging and playing with them a little bit different. Yeah, so they are the Duplos. but they still love them. And it's usually something that I can get them engaged, or I use them in my eval when I'm talking to the parents. I'll kind of give them to the kid to start playing with and just manipulating while I'm starting engaging the parent with that more dynamic conversation. So they are the Duplos. They're bigger. I do usually get one with a picture on the front. So it gives, sometimes with my evals or even just in my treatments, I'll say build this, and it just kind of looks at their constructional apraxia, motor planning, and just like bilateral hand coordination, visual perceptual skills, basically everything. So I do get the Duplos. There's something that I really think day one is a really good investment, and one with a picture on the top. So, hello. Is this good? We working? Let me know if you have any questions during the time, and then I will put all of this in a blog post with Amazon links too. So, the next thing is, this is just a board for puzzles. I think puzzles are a super great, easy thing. So, I don't have that with me, but I usually carry around like a non-interlocking puzzle, so where the pieces don't connect, for my younger kiddos. And then, yes, the Duplos, just in general, Lego Duplos are a little bit larger. They're not the small, tiny ones. I do have a little bag of little tiny Legos, but I honestly rarely ever use them. So, I usually stick with the bigger ones. So puzzles are another great thing, and they're usually relatively cheap. You can always find a lot of stuff at Goodwill, and just clean it and use that. So I have, this puzzle is actually a crowd favorite, and it was gifted from another therapist. So that's always another route to get some things and start to build your case, or start to build your bag, is just asking other therapists what they have, or if they have anything extra or things that they don't use. A lot of the therapists that I interact with every day, we kind of just like, oh, I don't use this anymore, and we kind of switch depending on the caseload. Yes, the Target dollar section is is another really great thing. So this one, as you can see, this puzzle just has all different animals, and their animal has a head, a body, and and their feet. So I have to sequence them together and line them up. So I usually do this a lot with a gross motor activity. So a wheelbarrow walk down, grab our animal, and bear crawl back, or something like that. And so this is a really good puzzle that I was gifted. But as you can see, there's a lot of different options for puzzles. It doesn't have to be that standard interlocking or non-interlocking puzzle. So this is another crowd favorite that I always have, and I literally have had this since day one of traveling, so 3 years. It's 3 years old. So as you can see, everything is in plastic bags. Yes, absolutely sharing items. And yes, I'll get into the lamination of things too. So I have a bag of beads, pipe cleaner. There's some pipe cleaners in here. And then I also have a big bag of pipe cleaners too. So these are super cheap that you can either get, you can even go to the dollar store and get them. And as you can see, they last a really long time. I don't think I've refilled this probably for 2 years. And I reuse them a whole lot. So that's always an option. A bag of markers and crayons. So as you can see, I usually like to do broken crayons, and that's what I use mostly with my kiddos. So I buy brand new pack of crayons and immediately rip or break them in half as soon as I open them up, which is sometimes heart-wrenching, but you know. So I usually do broken crayons, but for the older kiddos, I've realized if you do like to color, if they're motivated to color, these twistable crayons I find really beneficial and really helpful, because just like a mechanical pencil, if they're pushing too hard, it gives them instant feedback when the tip breaks. So these are really good things to have in your case, or to have in your therapy bag, if you have those older kids that are in that school age level, that's a really good option for them to color with. So I have that bag. And these are all pretty big, just pretty big staples, which is really great. Always bubbles. I always put those in a plastic bag because they do leak. So that is another thing with building your bag. Make sure you have a ton of plastic bags. I usually keep a whole Ziploc bag right in there too. So I have some slime and Theraputty. Play-Doh is another really good thing. I have my Play-Doh, right here. I do try to give, especially younger kids or kids that are a little bit more medically fragile, I give them their own Play-Doh and I try not to share. So, but those I usually leave at the house. I'll give them one Play-Doh, I'll leave it at their house, or I'll leave it at the clinic. So that can become costly if you are just starting out. Maybe Play-Doh isn't the best route. But I just have come from a pretty big medical background where everyone had to have their own separate thing. So I kind of just have carried that over in the meantime. So another basic is I just have tennis balls. That stays in here. So I keep that. And then from there, sorry, hi. No, that's okay. No, you're good, you're good. I'm in a public place, obviously. In my apartment complex. So next, this is a little bit more something if you want to increase the ante. This is something that I've been using a lot more. It's a little bit pricey on Amazon. Yes, a scooter. Oh, yes, perfect. Yes, so that's exactly what the Yogurilla. So Zulily is a place that you can get them. I got mine on Amazon, and this Yogurilla is something that I really am so happy that I invested in, and I absolutely love it. I do it with almost every single kid, and it is amazing. So it's really great for motor planning, just overall isometric holds and body awareness, and I'm just so happy I invested in it. So as you can see, you get cards with different poses, and you can have them pick them out, and then I pick some out, and a lot of the time, sometimes I'll even sequence them. So we'll do like a cat-cow sequence, or we'll do a child's pose to tabletop sequence, which is really fun, and they love it. They love that gorilla on there. So this is something that I definitely have recently added to my therapy bag, and it was one of the best additions that I've made. So everyone comes into my room every time I walk into the clinic and steals this from me because they see how great it is as well. And so this is something definitely to consider to add to your bag. Next, this is another staple that I usually, so along with the construction paper, crayons and markers and beads and stuff like that, I always carry around tissue paper. If you follow my feed, a lot of my crafts do have that tissue paper, change out materials. So I'll get to that question. So I do utilize tissue paper a lot. I think ripping is a great skill. The manipulation piece to work on those intrinsic hand muscles. I think tissue paper is a really great thing. So I usually carry a bunch with me. So how often do I buy or change out materials? It just kind of depends. I think sometimes I, just depending on, okay, you're good, you're good. No, you're totally fine. Thanks. So how often do I change or buy or change out materials? That is, like I was saying, something that just depends. Whenever I run out of a staple product, I usually, like construction paper or something, I replenish it right away. But the yoga and some of the lamination pieces that I have, I do change those out a little bit more frequently depending on my caseload. I think if you are a practitioner, you kind of see a wax and wane in your caseload. I've been moving from a lot of kids that were that on the spectrum, nonverbal, minimal engagement, and now I'm working. I feel like my caseload has been a little bit changing to a higher functioning motor planning, coordination difficulties. So it's been a little bit of a change. So whenever I started getting kiddos like that, that's when I got Yogurilla. That's when I started laminating other different gross motor games and different things like that. So I think it just depends on your caseload. And sometimes, honestly, as a therapist, I'm like, I feel like I do the same thing all the time with all the kids. And then that's usually whenever I hit up the Target dollar section, or I'll just search on Amazon for different treatment things and kind of replenish or add to it. So I just kind of see what I'm working with and just see if I'm feeling like I'm utilizing some tools or if I could get some new ones. So other than that, I usually just have a lot of coloring books, and then over here in this other corner, these are all of my papers. It looks really messy, I promise. I promise it's an organized mess. I promise. So I have a lot of lamination things, a lot of things laminated. Oh my goodness, so many interruptions, sorry. I have a lot of laminated papers. A lot of this is toolstogrowot.com, which I think is an amazing website. And if you invest in something, that membership is definitely worth it. They have a lot of great things that I laminate and I use on a regular basis. So toolstogrowot.com is something. So these are all my lamination papers. I have the connect the dots, or not connect the dots, copy the lines. And then I have a roll of dice position. So I'm usually having them do a functional activity and then they roll the dice to change up their position. So this also gives them a visual and gives them a visual to get into that position. Just a lot of different gross motor games. I have all my assessments. The Peabody. I used to have them in a folder, but life happens, right? So these are all just laminations. I have my notebook, or all of my construction paper here, all different colors, and then another coloring book. So I do have, that's pretty much it. I have the Handwriting Without Tears chalkboards that I use a little bit, and the Handwriting Without Tears printing book. I don't use that too much, honestly, just because of my caseload and the kiddos that I'm working with. I never, it hasn't been something that has been really pressing, but other than that, I also have the scooter board. So we had a comment about these different cards that give you treatment activities, which is another great thing. So this is scooter board activities, and they have them in all different positions: prone, supine. Again, I got this off of Amazon, and Super Duper Publications makes it. So it's the same brand as the Yo Gorilla. Hi, Allie. So I think I know my kids pretty well at this point, and so I do try to go into the treatment session with a plan. So I was thinking that maybe that could be an area of one Tuesday talk, where kind of that session building piece of it. So I do have a plan going into it, kind of like a gross plan, because we all know when working with pediatrics, especially kiddos with autism or ODD or ADHD, sometimes you just have to walk in and see how they're feeling and see where you can push them and which way, what they need that day. So I do kind of try to make goals whenever I'm walking into the session, but I don't specifically write them down. I do know therapists that pull out a notebook every week and write down their activities. I think just for me, I can mentally kind of process through that end goal that I want the kiddo to be at the end of the session, and things that I do want to accomplish. I keep a schedule and a planner with all the kids that I'm seeing, and then if I write their note or do their billing, but as an agenda, I don't specifically do that. So that's pretty much it. Up here, I keep my leftover tissue paper of things that, or if we have ripped them, I have clothespins, but I honestly really don't use these too often. Maybe I should start. This is what happens. I find things in my bag and I'm like, oh, I should start using that. A little bit more puzzle pieces. Another non-interlocking puzzle. I just saw it. So this is just an alphabet puzzles. So non-interlocking is whenever the pieces don't interlock together. So this is just a non-interlocking puzzle with the alphabet. I have leftover ribbon and pom-poms just depending on crafts. So if I have a craft in mind that I want to do for the time of year or the season, that's whenever I specifically go to the store and get those things that I need. And then I just throw them in my bag and pull them out whenever I need them after that. I have Uno cards, I have playing cards, I have some tape, all of the kind of just basic things. And then, as always, I have stickers. So that's the going through my bag portion of this. I think if you're a therapist and you're just starting out, like I said, I think some of the big things to invest in is the tools to grow OT. You can get a laminator and laminate a lot of that, a lot of those pieces, or you can search on there for gross motor, fine motor, cutting, connect the dots, word searches, things like that. Laminate them and just throw them in a folder. I would say some puzzles, some Legos, bubbles, markers, all of the writing implements, construction paper, and paper plates are a really good thing, like I said. And then if you want to get a little bit bigger of things, you can invest in the Yogorilla, you can invest in the scooter board cards. There's other cards like this for other treatment, like there's the therapy ball one, and there's a ton of different things like that. And then from there, you can kind of delve into the sensory mode with beans, or you can have like a little sensory bag if you can't carry a sensory bin around all day, every day. Play-Doh. I do have slime. My slime doesn't last long. It usually lasts me like 5 days because all of the kids want to use it and it kind of gets gross. So slime is another good one that I use pretty frequently. So that's kind of it. It doesn't seem like a lot, at least it does kind of seem like a lot. There's a lot of things. But it's a lot of basic things. So if you, I don't know if you can really tell from my posts, but I do really try to make things out of basic tools, especially since I'm traveling. I try to keep it small. I try to keep it a little bit more minimal. I definitely has been growing now that I'm staying in one place and I'm not a true traveling therapist moving across the country every 3 months. But like those beads, those crayons, paper, construction paper, paper plates, I try to be really dynamic in making a lot of different things and using those tools very differently. I've traveled to Africa and I've kind of seen how they practice there. And that was such an interesting aspect of using your resources to their fullest extent. So that was something that I really try to continue to implement in my treatment sessions. I practice at a really beautiful sensory gym with everything you can imagine, any swing you can imagine. And then I've been in clinics that really that really don't have a lot of tools, and I feel like I utilize a lot of the stuff that I have. Yes, exactly, thinking outside of the box. So top 3 things in my bag. So I would say currently, I would definitely say Legos, the Duplo Legos. I would say the Yogorilla and bubbles. I think I would say bubbles. Just because every kid loves bubbles. Every kid, no matter how old they are. Another thing that I did forget to, hi Katie. Another thing that I did forget to mention that I do have is a Rush Hour game. So I have Rush Hour Junior. It's the one where you, it comes with a card and you set up the cars the cars on this, and you try to get the ice cream truck out. So you have to kind of escape the ice cream truck. So this is a really good visual memory, motor planning, visual perceptual game for my older kids. And I play it in a lot of dynamic ways. Sometimes I'll just, if it's too much for them to process through getting the ice cream truck out, then I'll just have them copy the card. So as you can see, that's another way, or another game that I do keep and I utilize pretty frequently. So that's called Rush Hour. So I hope this was beneficial. I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, oh yeah, so there's an app. I never saw the app. That's really cool. I'll have to look for it. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know. I'm going to try to make it, because like I said, I'm an Amazon person. I think you can get a lot of this stuff pretty much anywhere. But Amazon is just kind of my jam. I always use it. So I'll create an Amazon page with all of these things in it. So definitely look for that. And other than that, yay, I'm so glad. Perfect. Awesome. Well, so next Tuesday there was a lot of people that were interested. So apps is definitely, I'm going to save that for another talk because I am a big fan of apps, and I will dive into that. And then I will post my Amazon page. So I'll dive into apps, another one. I'm thinking next Tuesday talk, I'll maybe do another poll, but there was a lot of people that were interested in interview tips and interview conversation. So that may be, so be on the lookout for another poll on Thursday. I'll post it Thursday. And then next Tuesday, we'll do another Tuesday talk. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night, everyone.